Thanks again. And coming up, Bounty AI time. We have Matt Cooley, co-founder and COO, and Ashara Risky, co-founder and CEO, and Kelly McDougall, product marketing leader. Welcome. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing? Long
Thank
time no see,
you.
Kelly.
Yeah, it's been a while. We're doing well. How are you?
Excited to dive into this.
All right. Well, I'm our product marketing lead at Bounty, but I would love to pass it over to our co-founders. First, maybe we can start with Matt. If you could go ahead and give a little intro.
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet everybody. I have been in SaaS for like 26 years now. Companies like New Relic did the 0 to 120 in IPO and learned a ton there. Companies after that, Mixpanel, Quip, Salesforce by way of Quip, met Osher, and during my time there, invested in the company and ended up joining as co-founder in August of 23. So yeah, nice to meet everybody. I'm much more on the go-to-market centric side of things, and I'll let Osher kind of go from there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Usher, co-founder here at Bounty. Like Matt, I've been in SaaS for about 15, 16 years now. I'm more on the product and engineering side. I did, the scaling journeys at companies like Box.com and MuleSoft. Prior to Bounty, I was founder and CEO of a company called Blameless, which was automating a lot of developer and engineering operations workflows. And there were a lot of learnings from there around how do you solve for the human in the loop problems, especially in very tense situations and high frequency kind of transactional situations. And then how do you bring that into the world of go to market? Are there learnings? And so that was kind of the seed idea of what eventually became Bounty. So we're excited to share more and tell you what we've been working on.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to jump right into it just because as a product marketing lead, I feel the pain points of creating content at scale. And really, I get a ton of asks from, sales reps and our sales organizations around, how can I work on a pitch deck update for this new vertical? Or can I create a little bit more bespoke pitch deck for this particular prospect? Or, hey, we've just found out about this new competitor. Can you update the battle card and get this content in? And staying up to date with all of that is definitely a challenge, and something that, if I took every request and worked on it, could take up, my entire day, my entire week. So I'd love to sort of hear from you guys about how you see Bounty stepping in and helping solve this very real pain point that I and many others feel.
You want me to go, Ash, first? Yeah, no, I mean, I share the same sentiment. I started my career in sales, so I know the sense of entitlement around a sales organization, expectations of product and content marketing. On the fly, I've got this big deal. I need this custom deck tomorrow or end of day. And so, but also, like, as I moved into more of an operational role and ran the whole go-to-market organization, I started to feel the same pain that you felt, Kelly, which is like, how am I supposed to do my job in a consistent way where there's so many random things that are coming up and hitting me in the face? And how do I keep the team educated? Because content and product marketing, especially in like early days or even mid-sized companies, it's small team, right? So you're asking a lot of value out of a resource that's like, is slim resources. So how do I keep up with the competition? How do I keep the team enabled on the same messaging that's relevant today versus even a month ago? How do I deal with, the $1 million deal that may come through that I needed all this custom work done for in a day? And how do I balance my time? So, I mean, that's one of the things that I think that is most important. One of the biggest problems that I've seen is just like the continuity between product marketing to content marketing to sales enablement. That whole thing has been broken, and it's because there are limited resources asked to do the majority of the work, right, to enable a team to actually win. And so I love what we've created in terms of this like content marketing engine. It's an accelerator on like brilliant people right? And what I think is really important that what we do is the AI will take you so far, but then we have humans on our side that will take it further, and then we're handing off to people like Kelly to make judgment calls on whether those are the right things or not. And so, with ChatGPT, you can go and certainly ask ChatGPT to come up with something. My experience is that it's 70% of the way there, and you still have to spend the 30%. And if you don't have time or capacity to do that, it becomes challenging and maybe you don't use it at all. Our philosophy is deliver you something that's 95% of the way there and just judgment call from there. So yeah, no, I mean that's the problem space I see. I felt the pain on both sides. And so that's why I'm excited about what we do and feel Kelly's pain in her role in the
Yeah.
past.
It's funny that you mentioned the ChatGPT, just because, even from my perspective, I, might use ChatGPT to do research on something. Again, we just talked about sort of the sales relationship and sales enablement, but, from the marketing side, a marketing team is asking, okay, we want to test this new vertical. We want to test this new ABM campaign. Can you do research, create the messaging so that we can build these assets for it? And, I could go to ChatGPT and do some deep research there, but it really does only take me so far. It's, can maybe like, it'll say, okay, do you want help to turn this into a deck? But then when I say yes, it obviously can only create headlines and like subheaders. It's not actually building me the deck. I still have to go spend a bunch of time to create that deck, or go work with a designer, or go work with our developer to actually build the landing page itself. So, it really can only take you, and I don't even know if it's 70% of the way there, but it's only doing the research for me. There's tons of time and human hours that then end up getting spent on the that final mile to actually bring the creative to life. So yeah, it's it can only really do so much. So and I think, from that standpoint, and like what how Bounty can really help marketers as well with expanding their campaigns, and doing these different tests and bringing these things live. Sure, I'd love to hear from you about sort of like how you think about, just going from that deep research to actually bringing the creative to life.
Yeah. So my perspective is a very much, I've not been a go-to-market expert. I've been a builder and engineer for a very long time. And as a founder, you learn a lot. And so that's the journey of being a founder. And so one of my biggest learnings that I've had, and I've been in a situation where you're pressured by investors, executives, board, the board to be like, oh, you got to go grow very quickly. And as I've kind of like learned over the years to understand what it is that gets in the way of that growth, it's a lot of times, I think if you look at your funnel, if anybody looks at any stage within the funnel, you'll realize that and I don't think anybody's really said this so openly, because we like to box content creation into like very distinct buckets, right? Like product marketing, whatever it is. But if you look at every touch point every customer touch point in the funnel, there is some pain point that you have to talk about, right? And that to me equates to content. Now, whether the content is coming in the form of an email, and it's sales reps that are generating like these, outbound emails and running outbound campaigns, or it's marketing that's doing APM campaigns, or whether it's, middle of funnel type nurturing type stuff that needs to happen. I think what the big learning for me is that knowledge work that's living in our brains as the team that's in a company that's building this stuff, that needs to be translated very, very quickly. Like you need very quick translation of that to something that buyers can understand, buyers can make decisions, that can take people through a journey, right? And so I think that is, being able to bring AI in the right touch points at the right time has been a journey for us to figure out. And I think we finally like really nailed it, in my personal opinion, like how we actually go about generating a lot of this content and doing it fast, I think is really important. But the really interesting thing is that the human in the loop piece, like, we harp on this, we talk about this again and again and again, which is that, we are far away from a world where for the types of jobs that we're doing right now, like AI is going to be completely replacing a lot of the output that's being generated. You got to have some level of human touch point. And that's really hard to compete with. Like, it's really hard for any tool to come and say like, oh, we're outperforming humans on the creativity side of things, right? And so that's one thing that we have, taken a stance on that is relatively different than what I think a lot of other AI tools have kind of done, which is that, hey, we're here to replace humans. And so how do you bring together an AI agent, a human agent at the right kind of touch point in a buyer's journey? And then how do you create an experience around that is unique to the vertical or the industry that I'm in or the persona that I'm actually representing? That has been our journey so far, and we got a ton of learnings from it. And I think we're now starting to see sort of the early signs of that promised AI unlock. And keep in mind, it's not 100% AI unlock. It's the unlock is happening because of the AI and the humans coming together at like I said, at the right place, right time. But we're now starting to see that early signs of like 5x the output or the 10x the output and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's a combo versus just like, oh, there's just like a magical AI agent that's just going to do everything for you. And it just happens to be the most well-trained model. And we've spent billions of dollars on it. I don't think anybody here has. But, that's where that reality is a little bit further away, I think. And I think, we're set up well for where the world is today and, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And to that point, you know, humans still being very important, and sort of like what jobs should AI be used for, brings me to another great use case that we have with Bounty is sort of that like really ramping new hires, for example, and really getting them all the information that they could possibly need, getting them set up really well for success so that they can do their job and make the connections that they need to. And Matt, I know you've built sales organizations and you have a strong opinion here. So I'd love to hear kind of your take on how Bounty can help in this particular use case.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way most operators understand the impact of ramp time on a new sales rep, for example. But for a lot of folks, that's a soft cost that they don't measure, they don't see. It's just a necessity to get to quota. But when you think about the annual operating plan and why productivity declines every year as you plan for salespeople, it's span of control. It's knowing you're going to lose people. The larger the team, the higher the attrition, not as a percentage, but as a pure number. Onboarding new people is like one of the biggest costs, as you think about just sales alone. And you usually take your best sales rep and you do a lunch and learn. You teach the rest of the team what they're using for content, how they're talking to customers, what's working for them. People show up for lunch and they go back to their desk and do the same thing. Well, what if you could have a unified playbook, right? And that is produced by the creative minds in marketing, right? And this is why sales goes to marketing for anything creative. And I'll speak for myself. Still to this day, I know what I want to say. I don't know how to put it in a way that is creatively displayed to somebody, right? So I'd spend most of my time just trying to rearrange a PowerPoint, right? If I know what to say and someone else can actually make it beautiful, that would have saved me a ton of time. And this is the exact reason why salespeople will come to marketing to create a deck for them, for example, because they don't want to do the work because it's going to take them forever to make it presentable. So like if you think about all this stuff, if you arm the team with a unified from product marketing to content marketing to sales enablement to updated to the day, if you want to, competitive analysis of how you win and lose against your competition, the ramp time for someone to come in and do the job is a lot shorter. And if you do that across, let's say, 20 hires over the course of the year, shortening the ramp time to get to full productivity from 6 months to 3 months is very meaningful to the business, right? So those are like when you're talking to somebody in finance or operations or sales operations, those are easy no-brainers. But it's harder for other folks to see, but they feel the pain. So it's just like the right price point of like the value you bring, it's a no-brainer to invest in stuff like this. And it's not to really necessarily replace headcount. It's to accelerate the headcount that you have hired, and it's also to accelerate the output of the creative people that are doing the work, like you, Kelly, right? So if you can get the mundane stuff off of your plate, you can actually focus on things that are creative that will actually drive strategic value to the business. But in your role over the years, you've probably gotten caught in a lot of things that deviate from what the company needs, and this solves that problem.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, thank you both. And I think, I'm about to sort of jump into a demo and sort of show some of the examples of what Bounty can create. And so, of course, feel free to jump in and to add your own thoughts on this. But I don't want to make people wait too long to see the product in action and how awesome it is. So. As you can see here, we are Bounty. It's the no lift, no code GTM content engine. And I'll give you some examples of some of the content that we can create, and then we'll dig into the product and how you can actually build it. So we talked a little bit about sales enablement and how we can prep sellers. And this is an example of like a pre-call brief. So really giving sellers some details about the company that they're targeting, suggested talk tracks, any news or information that they need to know, and just having that all ready for them ahead of the call can be super, super helpful. Same with actually generating, bespoke messaging for these sequences. So actually, really highly targeted outreach messaging that can either for a particular company or for a particular buyer, but really giving them that collateral to use. As well as, we talked about it, battle cards. You can either a one-to-one battle card or you can have these different, one-to-many battle cards. Easily updatable, created in seconds. And this is something that as a product marketer, I've spent tons and tons of time to analyze competitors to try to stay up to date on what's going on, just for a competitor to come in with something new, and for our AI agent to actually be able to do all of that research and to generate something that's beautiful and easy to use and easy to read, easy to digest. That just goes to show how powerful this engine is. It's not just the research, it's not just a wall of text, but it's actually something really beautiful and easy to interact with and use.
Kelly, can I say one thing on that? I apologize.
Course,
I think the importance of what we can create for folks is not just how you win, but where you might lose. And where you might lose is more important than how you win, because going into, they call it battle cards for a reason. When you go into a competitive situation, if you know how you're going to lose, you know how to dictate the narrative around those topics, right? And so and also not having egg on your face because the competitive information is outdated, right? It's up to date. You know how to speak to it. It tells you how to speak to it. It tells you where you win and lose, and you can plan for that before you go into the call and be armed in a way that your competition is not.
Exactly. And again, that's a request. Something pops up and they need to know immediately, what's new with this competitor. And I might not have the time to be able to go and do that. And so for our product to be able to just run that research immediately and deliver it in this, again, super digestible format, is pretty amazing, and make sure that everybody's prepared, and again, done in seconds. Moving on to some of the collateral that we can create, marketing teams, these types of landing pages that are really easy, again, built in seconds, with almost, again, no lift, no prep. They didn't need any marketing text. They didn't need anything from me. Our AI agent ran all of the research to figure out what to actually put on this page, and understands our styling and our branding to pull this together. We have here another landing page as well. So again, it's not just building the content, it's not just giving you the messaging so that you can go to a web developer and ask them to develop this landing page. It's actually building the page itself and taking it live in seconds. We also have here a getting started guide, a user guide. One of the things that is, can take a ton of time to actually produce, and a ton of time to update as things change. Bounty can do in seconds just by, running research on our product and our URLs and what we do, and then being able to pull in our assets, our screenshots and things like that to build this really interactive guide that can easily be edited. And I'll give one more example here. This is like a program landing page that easily, again, in seconds, I said, can you build a landing page where it's targeting these two different audiences and how the program might work and how they can join, and make sure to add an FAQ, and boom, just like that, it's ready to go. It didn't need any copy from me, but I can easily give it copy instructions or do this inline editing to make it go live. So just to give you some examples first, but now I'm going to kind of take you to the behind the scenes, how Bounty actually works and the back end. So as you can see here, the first thing that we're doing is actually pulling your style. So you just give us your URL for your company, and it can automatically pull all of your branding information. So like what fonts are you using, what colors are you using, etc. What do your headlines look like, your subheaders look like. But it can also do that for your prospects. So let's say you want to target a new prospect and you want to build out an ABM campaign, or you want to build a personalized pitch deck for them. Not only can you have it pull your own branding, but you can also have it pull that branding as well. So that's super easy. All you do is input the URL. And then we've got the assets component. So you can upload the assets that are relevant and up to date for you. So your logos, or your competitor's logo, or your prospect's logo, any images that you have and that you're using on your site, easily upload those. And then the really interesting part is sort of our research agent. So many of you, as we've mentioned earlier, use ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can give you some good research, but can only take you so far. The cool part here is that in this research, you can run deep research on your own company. So it can really understand your offerings, your market, your competitors, your ideal buyers. It can really deeply understand all of these pieces and save that, so that it has that to use for every piece, for every collateral or asset that you want to create moving forward. But you can also ask it to research your a prospect that you're trying to target and how you would be a good fit for solving some of their problems. Again, like those pre-call briefs that we showed, it's running deep research on these prospects so that it's prepping you for that call in advance. So again, your branding, your company, your prospect's company, a competitor, can really run that deep research and save all of that for the end to put all these puzzle pieces together. The other piece is sort of the format. So like, what are you trying to build? Are you building, a custom pitch deck? Are you building an events landing page? Are you building a blog page or a sales enablement, piece of collateral, or a pitch deck, a product brief, whatever type of content you want to build? We've built a number of different types of content, but again, are you looking for different types of enablement content, or prospecting content, or marketing content? We can kind of build whatever type of format you're looking for. And the exciting piece is that just like once you've got all of those puzzle pieces together, you can build anything that you're looking for. So I can immediately say, okay, let's, in our bounty campaign, let's build, let's say, an ABM sales landing page. That's one of the formats that's already out there. I said before, I could build it in our bounty style, or I could build it in a prospect style, because we can pull that prospect's branding, but I want to make it bounty styled. So I'm going to use our bounty style. And assets, which assets do I want to be included in this? I can include our logo. I can include some of these, images that we have. And then let's say, okay, document. And this is where it's pulling what deep research do we want it to reference in creating this. And so let's say we're building that landing page for Dido. So I can say, okay, we've run research on Dido specifically. So let's go ahead and just generate that creative. And Now Bounty is running all of that or using all of those things to actually build this ABM landing page for Dido in Bounty style. But again, you can make it in your style. We've had some really cool examples of doing it in kind of creative styling, and just like that, it's running to create live. And let's see, here's one that I generated a little bit earlier in the same piece in the same vein. It's the ABM landing page, Bounty plus Dido. Your customers have these stories. Bounty creates the pipeline. And again, look at that. I didn't have to write a single word of content. Bounty did all of the deep research on our brand as well as Dido to be able to create this page and create an ABM landing page that now we can use to go prospect with Dido and have it automatically go to book a demo. So this is, again, really exciting for me because this is something I can build in seconds. We can build a new battle card in seconds. We can build, a new landing page, a product guide, whatever it may be. All of these examples that we shared, all of those in just a matter of seconds. So let's see here, it just finished. So now we've got a new one that we just ran live, and this is particular just built for Dido in a matter of seconds. And as I mentioned earlier, one amazing thing is like this inline editing. So I can say, all right, not only do I want, maybe I actually want to change what's next in AI. Let's build together, and I can apply those changes. I could give it instructions. I could say something like, actually make this all sentence case. As a product marketer, that's the kind of thing I care about. Make the headers all sentence case. Now apply changes, and it's now just going to work and update the whole page to including the instructions that I gave. So pretty impressive. Again, just amazes me that that's something that normally would have taken me weeks to build the content for, gone to developers and designers to actually create, done in a matter of seconds and very easy to edit. Julie, I don't want to take out too much time. If there are questions coming in, we'd love to answer those as well.
Phenomenal presentation and really impressive tech. Thank you so much, Shar, Matt, and Kelly. We have a lot of questions around quality of the content, the output, and one particularly about sales. And people are referring to, obviously, everyone's inbox is being flooded. So what makes bounty generated outreach and content actually land and not just scale?
I can take a shot at that one. The thing that most people, what are the default things, the tools that they have? They have email and they have LinkedIn, right? And if you look at everybody's inbox is getting bombarded. In fact, it's getting worse. This problem is getting much worse. And if you look about how do you stand out from the wall of text that's just coming at you all the time from all these different channels and sources, right? It's text, 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 text. What we found to be the most successful strategy, one is personalization. So that deep research agent really helps with personalization, right? But to really grab someone's attention, you have to be able to show that, hey, I put some effort into understanding you and your pain points, right? And oh, you don't believe me? Well, look at all of the different ways that I can talk about your pain. And so that is where we've seen a lot of success with our customers, is when they're able to break away from that wall of text noise that people are giving and giving folks something that breaks that visual pattern. So when people can go into a landing page or a battle card or a personalized ad that's generated specifically for them, that is what we're seeing is what's grabbing people's attention, right? So it's not just one thing; it's having multiple options. Whereas in the old world, you really just had two options, and it just came down to, can I write the most compelling subject line? How fast did that get saturated, right? Can I write the shortest email? Can I write the funniest email? Oh, and by the way, you can do all that in Bounty as well. You can have Bounty generate all that content for you. but it's really in the richness and the diversity of content. That's how you grab people's attention.
Yeah, I would add one thing to that. I mean, obviously we can't solve for the problem that people's inboxes are flooded with things, but like what we can solve for is like looking at different ways of engaging, right? And I'm saying this and maybe in a different way that Oscar's saying it. Like emails are like email's dead. We've been saying it for how many years now? It's never going to be dead. It's a necessity, and it's annoying when you get these prospecting emails that come through. They open at sub 1%, right? So if you can just figure out a way to creatively get people to engage at 5%, like open rates, all of these, I mean, to be honest with you, all of these open rates suck. But like in the laws of averages, 1% to 5% is meaningful to your business, right? So the outreach game is tough, right? Prospecting is hard, very low returns. But in a world that needs to change away from just a generic email, like to more creative ways of engaging with your customers and keeping them engaged, like that's the thing we think about when we create content for outreach. The other side of it, I think the more important side of it is the time savings that someone in Kelly's role would gain, right? And focusing someone that's really brilliant. We believe Kelly is so brilliant to focus on the things that are really moving the needle for the business by offloading all of her mundane work that doesn't need to be done necessarily and never gets used by the sales team. Like offloading a lot of that work to focus her time on what matters most. That's where we live. Pipeline generation is a thing. It's an extension of what we do, but like trying to attribute your value of your service to pipeline generation is a nightmare. That is a dying position to be in because sales reps are going to argue and fight over who got the lead and who didn't. And I've always seen attribution to be really hard when it comes to pipeline. So it's an extension of what we do. It is an easy way to engage with customers. It is a different way to engage with customers, but the value of what we do is enabling your team to actually win when they're engaged. And that's the value, right? If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And people are asking about some early ROI or interesting use cases based on your customer stories, as there's a lot of hype, lots of marketing around, all of the agentic AI content. And what are you seeing tangibly?
I think sales enablement has been a huge use case for us. Our marketing teams, marketing campaigns, whether that's ABM or being able to spin up tests faster than they would. We've heard things like we want to run ABM, but we're only going to be able to focus on these 5 customers. But with Bounty, we're able to actually focus on our top 20 or 30, or we're able to run these tests on these other verticals that we wouldn't have normally been able to do because we don't have the resources for somebody to be researching and building all this content. But with Bounty, you can. So I think those are some of the top use cases that we've seen.
I'll address the ROI thing. I think that goes right back to what I was saying about pipeline generation. Like we don't want to be bucketed into, oh, you created this many opportunities for us, or we have this many new deals or upsells because of you. That is hard to measure unless you're talking to the right person. And this goes way back to my first statement is like the soft costs are hard to measure in terms of ROI, but it's obvious to the person who has to do the job, right? And so that's why we price the product the way we do. It's a no-brainer. When you wake up tomorrow, you don't have to do the worst part of your day. It's $299 a month to get started. Like that is a no-brainer, right? If it were, $20,000 a month to get started, that's a hell of a lot harder to measure ROI. But we play in the game where the ROI is so obvious based on the pain you feel in your day, that we fly under that radar.
One quick one on interesting use cases. The one that we just saw recently that is really exciting is we've got developers that are using the product to again, now what we've done, like Bounty doesn't just become an enablement tool for the sales team. The developers are now empowered to build features and then use the same language that the go-to-market team uses to, at the time of deployment and release, be able to generate release notes with images and pictures, like a much more richer experience around that. So you can see how the sort of the barrier between product engineering and go-to-market is just completely gone when you're kind of like living that. So that's a really new, interesting use case that just got unlocked recently.
Really cool one. Question from Tara. I have a question around how many people are needed typically to run Bounty on the buyer side. Do you have small customers with just one marketer using Bounty?
I can answer that a little bit. So it doesn't really matter the number of users, right? So if you think about the output, right, and the value of the output, like Kelly uses this for us, right? And she's one individual, but she does the work of five, and that's the important thing is enabling a team that you have of five. Like we're not in the business of trying to get you to cut your staff, right? But if you take that team of five and you accelerate their productivity, like that is one way to think about it. However, like most companies, especially in the markets that we serve, which is going to be SMB, like mid-market, low-end progressive enterprise, like borderline, you usually have one, maybe two content marketers. So it's not like there's no seat-based pricing or anything like that. It is all you can use. And candidly, in a perfect world, before you grow into the next phase, don't hire two content marketers, hire one and then give that content marketer an assistant. And that's the way we look at it.
Love it. One more question here. How much of the creative is truly autonomous and how much still needs human editing before going live?
Sure, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, so there's as Kelly was showing in her demo, there's a handful of inputs that go into generating the creative. So one is the style guide, which the agent extracts from your website, or you can pass one in manually. Then there is a series of assets, and then we have, which is like your images, your, whatever you would have as part of your marketing assets. And then you have the actual kind of research content, which again is generated primarily by the research agent itself. And then you can obviously edit that. But as you might have seen in the demo, the content creation is almost all done. Actually, all it was done live, as Kelly showed you. It was 100% done by the agent, right? Now, you as the human would come in and say, "Oh, I want to change the language here," or "Hey, I don't like the background color. Go change that." You can also do that through the agent. But what we showed you was actually that's what's running in production right now. So if when you come in and you sign in with Bounty and you are able to provide that information as part of the setup process, I mean, you can be generating those within minutes. And again, in terms of a lot of the feedback, not feedback, the feedback that we do see and get is really around the content itself, and that again is really your job, your job as the person who's using Bounty to make those changes. But people, I think the wow moment is when you see that the dopamine hit that folks get is when they see that live creation of that asset and they're like, wow, this just it would have cost me X amount of dollars and this much time to go do this with four other people. Right?
I'll give you a very real example. Like this is honestly, and Kelly did this in a week. We started to see traction, like very interesting traction in residential real estate from content production standpoint. It's a less savvy community of users, right? They use Chat GPT, but like 25% of them use it. They don't really adopt technology to create content. And they spend a bunch of money trying to get that content to differentiate themselves, right? So we created we said, Kelly, okay, look, we have this SKU now for residential real estate. Go figure it out. And in a week, we had a landing page, website, all the collateral we need, video, everything. And she did it by herself in a week. That's a new vertical that we're serving in 1 week.
Super impressive, Matt. One question we're addressing all day today is the transition piece. So the question that our executives, GTM leaders care the most about when it comes to agentic scaling is where do you even start? How do you transition to this new type of workflow? Yeah. So what would be your advice?
I'll take a stab at it, right? So we come from the world of SaaS, and there is the biggest learning for us is that the way to build a SaaS product and the way to building an AI product it's like completely two different sides, like complete opposites. And that is reflected in how, number one, it starts with the people that you hire and the skills that you have on the team and how you organize your company/team. right? So in the SaaS world, when you come, the sort of tribal knowledge from that world tells you, traditional knowledge tells you that, oh, you've got to hire and build out these structured organizations, and you've got to hire these multiple layers of leadership and reporting structure, and you've got to do all these planning ceremonies and stuff like that. When you are building with AI, I think the biggest lesson for us was like, you just basically flatten everything out, right? And you focus on it, like it really, the focus comes down to culture and creating a culture of empowerment and trust, right? That for us was the biggest, the learning that we've seen, a very, very stark learning, by the way, of what we've seen is what creates this new, that the agentic scaling is what people have been talking about. So my advice and recommendation is like, hey, you have to really go back to the roots of the team charter, the team structure, and reevaluate it all the way from the beginning, and basically raise it to the ground if you have to. And that doesn't mean you're necessarily getting rid of folks. You're just recreating the values and recreating this new structure around it that just makes sure that humans get out of the way versus getting in the way. So that has been a very, very stark, very clear learning.
When you're running a go-to-market organization, you like the ultimate goal is what? It's revenue, right? So if you can shift everybody by 30% closer to pipeline and revenue, like wouldn't that make sense, right? And then those individuals in the headcount are paying themselves back from an operational plan, but everybody is, it's like the one person's trash is another person's treasure. Like that is a real thing in a sales organization that's tiered the way it is. There's a BDR that wants to do the bottom end of the sales rep's work. And there's a sales rep that wants to do the bottom end of the manager's work. Manager wants to be a director all the way up, right? What if you could shift everybody 30% up closer to the customer where the return on that is actual revenue and not wasted time in your day doing things to prepare to make the call instead of making the call? Right. And there's too much like talking about making the call these days and preparing to make the call and not enough calls being made. And people think they're doing their jobs because they have everything their manager asked them for. But at the end of the day, they're just asking them to prepare because that's their mandate from the top. And it's not yielding anything in terms of pipeline. And that's the one thing I will say is indirectly impacts pipeline is the freedom of your day away from the things that don't drive revenue and moving you closer to revenue. And if you have a team of size, even if you have a team of small size, it makes a big difference because a team of small size might have lower revenue and a 30% increase on revenue on any number is a good number, right? And also a better return on the, like from a profitability standpoint on your employees, right? So, and then running leaner essentially, right? If you need less people to do the job that you needed to do in the old SaaS world, right? It was very easy to throw headcount at growth. Now you can throw AI at growth and partner with really great people. And I said Kelly's doing the job of 5, but realistically, it's probably the job of 3. And either we hire 3 people and burn that money, or we move half as fast, right? Or a third as fast. And so thinking about it that way, that's an accelerator that any operator on the planet couldn't disagree with if it's an affordable thing. So that's why I get excited about it. And there's a lot in there, but
Thank you so much, Matt, Bashar, and Kelly. What a fantastic presentation. Really love what you built and impressive tech. Where should our community go for a test drive? How do we get started with Bounty?
Yeah, they can go to bounty, bounti.ai, and they can click our Get Started button to get in contact with us, schedule a meeting. But obviously, this community, if you want to email me directly, you can reach me at kelly@bounti.ai. I'll throw it in the chat, and we'll make sure that you're routed to the right place.
Thank you so much again. What an incredible day and event, receiving a lot of messages from you all. Thank you for attending. Thank you that the content resonates. And we are going to be back in September for a massive AI summit. And you can get pretty much a session with every leader we featured today on all things agentic scaling, scales. So yeah, the marketplace side of things is fascinating too. We are building the stock market of skills. So lots of updates on that front soon. And yeah, thank you again. and see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.